So what is Article 370 of the Indian Constitution? Why was it incorporated in the first place, and why is there a demand now to do away with it? So let's flash back to 1947, when most of the princely states acceded to the Union of India, accepted the Constitution of India as the final authority, and dissolved their individual constituent assemblies. But what happened with J&K time? It was a long tussle between these various power centers. And in the end, what was decided is that the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to the Union of India will happen under a special provision. That provision was called the Article 370. It stipulates that the Union of India will have the power to legislate over J&K only on three subjects: defense, communication, and foreign affairs. For everything else, it would require a presidential order to be further ratified by the governor. A number of presidential orders passed over the years, and to the effect that today, practically, all the provisions of the Indian Constitution extend to J&K as well. And there is, in effect, only one article within Article 370, that is Article 35A, which still remain a contentious issue. And that is because this article stipulates that J&K has a special permanent residence feature, has a special feature called permanent residence. People from anywhere else in the country does not have the right to buy property in J&K or to apply for jobs there. The second point is that the Union of India cannot declare a state of emergency in Jammu and Kashmir unless it's an issue of external aggression. And the third point being there can be no alteration of the territory as well as the name of Jammu and Kashmir done by the Union of India. Now, today the debate is practically then about repealing Article 35A. What are the arguments against it? One of the main arguments against it, which of course the BJP very forcefully puts forward, the ruling party of this country, is that it creates a sense of alienation. It segregates J&K. It is violative of the notion of nationhood. Why should they have a special status where others cannot go and apply jobs, where any other citizen of the country cannot buy property? The other objection is the issue of permanent residence. Now there again, there was an issue of gender bias which was raised, because it was stipulated that if a woman who is a state subject, who is a permanent resident, marries somebody from outside the state, she loses her permanent residentship. But after that, in subsequent court orders, those anomalies have already been corrected. The third objection that has been raised against Article 35A is that it encourages separatism, because it creates that sense of alienation. It gives that special status and that certain autonomy to the government in J&K. Remember, the term for government in J&K is 6 years, whereas everywhere else it is 5 years. So there are still quite a few of those differences that exist, but the mainstream regional parties of Jammu and Kashmir are strongly opposed to any further dilution of Article 370, particularly of Article 35A, because remember, they do have certain extra powers compared to other states in the country, especially since the whole idea of extending legislative powers to J&K can only happen if the state legislature ratifies it. So that gives a certain special privilege which the government of the day would not like to lose in J&K. Then they also support 35A because their argument is, far from encouraging separatism, this is something that could actually discourage separatism. And the argument that has now been put forward by Mehbooba Mufti, the current chief minister, is that if you abrogate Article 370, you actually make the whole agreement of accession of J&K to the Union of India redundant. So she has now put it in the context of Article 370 being integral to the Constitution, based on the fact that that is the very basis of accession of J&K to the Union of India. But what do you think? Should there be special provisions? Should there be a special status for Jammu and Kashmir? Do you think that is the reason why separatist tendencies have increased in J&K? Do write it to me. I'll be waiting to hear from you. Thanks for watching Two Sides to the Coin.